Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Wednesday, December 10th, 2025 edition of Trading Trends. We're going to do ETF edition today. It was a big deal in the market today. Federal Reserve cuts 25 basis points, no surprise there. And the market on the heels, S&P I'm talking about, on the heels of new all-time highs, and I'm talking very, very, very close. We'll take a look at the charts. There were many markets that made all-time highs. Nostro Llama looking pretty decent, okay with that. On the day and everything today in terms of the cycle work. You can watch the video from November 24th, which is when this rally began. Once those bulls held that level, let's go to the doc for a second, and I will show you really what really accelerated today. And it was a great portfolio day. Above all, we were not, it's not, money's not made in predicting, it's made in the trading. And it was a great day. And we'll look at some of the big what supplanted that, All right, so hopefully you can see that now. Boom. All right, so the Fed cuts 25 as expected, fueling big advances, multiple sigma movers. I know the S&P on the day closed up 0.2%. Small caps did a lot, more, about 1.4% for small caps. But the big regions, the big areas that rallied were regional banks, cheaper borrowing, they would directly benefit. Industrials, lower cost of capital, they directly benefit. It was a very easy kind of a playbook move as expected. And emerging markets, they keep cutting, more dovish. If you get one more next year, it hurts the dollar. Dollar had a multiple sigma move lower here. So overall, yes, it weakens the dollar, strengthening emerging markets non-denominated in US dollars. So very easy textbook tranquility, honestly, in how the market digested Powell and the 25 bip cut today. And again, VXX volatility is the proxy I'm looking at, down 4% to new all-time lows. Hence my use of the word tranquility. Market saying don't care about your puts at all. We're at 6,800 for goodness sakes, nearing 6,900. New all-time highs for, get ready for this, silver, small caps, VEA, which is developed markets, RSP, which is equal weight stock. You'll love to see that. So if you own stocks, today is the highest close in history ever on an equal weight basis. This isn't if you missed NVIDIA. This isn't if you missed Broadcom. This is an equal weight S&P 500 all-time high today, as well as KBWB. That is the banks, EZU, Eurozone, and Canada. All-time highs all across. It's the bowl of spirits, animal spirits that we were looking for coming to fruition today. Take a look at the chart here. Let me bang. Okay. You should be seeing me in my weird little tents. There we go. Bang. All right. Dashboard. I was going to do stocks today, but when there's large macro factors, we like to get, for my process, I step back and I look at the ETFs and I see where things are instead of seeing where, for example, Tesla ran up on a day. That's, a little bit too myopic for me. So you always want to see the big waves of the ocean before you get, riptide crashed on you. Okay, so we'll look at the index in a second. Tesla up, aforementioned, up 1.4%. Microsoft did not enjoy the day, down nearly 3%. Palantir, told you I bought that one on Friday, looking great. I have a 195 target on that. It was a great day. They got awarded some big contract last night, up 3%. One of the bigger leaders from the mega caps today. Google up 1%, Meta down 1%, Broadcom up 1 2/3, Amazon up the same amount. Small caps crushed it in terms of indices. That and mid caps up a massive 1.5% today. Netflix down 4, JP Morgan up 3, Micron up 4.5. I've got that one long as well, like we said, up Friday when I was foreseeing this rally, and Micron's been absolutely stupendous. I have a exit on that about 275. I can check my notes, but I'm holding out for a little bit more. And that, a monster day for Micron, up 4.5%, and Uber, nasty, down 5.5%. They have some legal, I believe, some clearing, something happening in Europe about the way they can book business, and it hurt the stock. Stock does not look so stupendous, but it's had a very good year, up 30%. Let me close this out here. So all in all, SPY on the day, volume was 77 million. That's actually average with what we've been having for the past month. It was actually very, as you can imagine, low volume going into the announcement. I always like to see what VWAP is and what the closing price level is right before the 2 o'clock. So that was right here. So basically, SPY, we all agreed it was worth 683 going into the 25 basis point statement cut at 2 o'clock. And then you could see the huge ramp ups here. This is 683, essentially 684. And then no looking back. And then we went 684, a massive ramp up to 688 once Powell was talking about productivity through AI. He doesn't think it's really going to affect the job market. I think it's going to put a lid on it. Two-part risks from labor and inflation, but definitely have to pay attention to labor while still steering inflation towards 2% goal, and this all rallied to a crescendo at 3:30 right into the bell. I think those advisors and traders had to get those orders executed. We pushed it to 689. I'm rounding on SPY. It was actually 688.97. The all-time high is 690.70. So this is the closing high. Was set today, and a little bit of a sell-off into the final minutes, but still massively holding VWAP here. VWAP, when all said and done, was 685. We closed at 687, and upper Bollinger Band closes in terms of a daily intraday time frame from 2:30 to 3:30. They were absolutely bullish here. It put this up to a 72 RSI on a short-term time frame. So absolutely a beautiful spike at 3:30 p.m. to 689. Now, as I zoom out, I do a lot of cycle counting work. Sometimes they're very simple. Sometimes they're a little bit more complicated in more volatile markets. I don't see a reason why nothing, anything has changed. I called out right here after that beautiful defense of 652 to be exact, at a very important level for this market going back to mid-September. Very, very important to me. And it held it superbly each time. Really, look at that. Each time, no matter, obviously, derivative metrics here in terms of RSI and the technicals below here. But look at this. Believe in that. It's not a trend line. I drew it's just a horizontal line there at 652. Very important level of support. And that is when this rally began on the 24th. We had all along right around December 9th for the end of it, really the end of the bullish accumulation phase. And my target there was 695 all along, honestly, right around 696. And I am looking to unload many longs, much along, especially timed options on a shorter time frame in the next day or two. I think the market's going to take a huge sigh of relief. We'll look at the VIX chart in a second, down 4% to new all-time lows. We're talking about VXX, but this is a beautiful supplant, a beautiful reason to go higher in the short term. And you're seeing an RSP equal weighted. They're just not gobbling up the NVIDIAs yet of the world, but they will. They're rotating into small caps. Small caps led right here on this advance here, sniffing out this rate cut when it was 50-50, 60-40, and now obviously going into today was 87%. And then of course they did it. You are probably done on the job cut, on the rate cut front until June, and Powell will be out in May. So he probably cut for the last time, and he'll go into the sunset. A fine, reserve gentleman, sayonara when he's all done. But yeah, this looks great. Anyways, I'm holding out, like I said, for a 696 exit. I think you get it in the next day or two, and then you will have, I don't want to say a rug pull, but it'll be a digestion of these 2.5 weeks of gains, and you're going to see a pullback to about that 675, 678 level. So don't be shocked. But again, these levels here, that 6,500, I think that's in the rear view. And if you have this thing every December, I can't buy the market here, it's so expensive, it's going higher. Trump's going to put in a dovish chair next summer. You're going to get more cuts. I think that's why also a reason why you saw the dollar take an absolute crap today, because it hurts the dollar. But doesn't mean markets can't ramp higher as companies have monster expansion, as they also leverage AI. All right. Let us get through the chart. So that's SPY. Like I said, I'm holding out for another $9. It's about 1.5%. Once you get to right about that 69.60 level in S&P, could go a little bit higher. The only reason I will say it could go higher, towards 7,000, maybe psychological market, et cetera, is because the small caps have really strengthened to the all-time highs, and then some with upper Bollinger Band closes. So that is impressive. Does that get to SPY and the Qs? I'm not so sure. I think the Qs do have work to do. I bought, like I said, the Palantir Micron was a tactical move to get long some tech. I think they're going to get in that line soon. Like I said, I think you're going to get a nice crescendo here in the next, by the end of the week or so. And today I loved what I saw here, and I think these levels are no longer. All right, let's see what moved today. Hella big, as they say. And if you got a ticker or something, put it in. I think things look pretty good, though. Number one gainer today in terms of multiple standard deviation, and it was so textbook, so easy. I've been talking about their banks. It was the easiest trade since May. An amazing perpetual bid for banks, Canadian banks, American banks, made-up banks. It doesn't really matter. They're at nearly all-time highs. This is a ridiculous candle, up 3.5%. Absolute massive bullish engulfing. This is a week's worth of the past week. This is 1 week's worth of the past 5 days of trading. For the KRE, I'm looking at up 3.5%. This is one of the reasons why small caps have gone outside the upper Bollinger Band. This has essentially done it too. It's up barely, but you can't really see here, but it's up about 9 cents. And these were the former highs from early September for the regional banks. Remember, it gave us a huge scare in mid-October, and then again in mid-November. It seemingly does it every couple of months. Well, new all-time highs today, no scare for them. As long as there's no scare for them, and it's got a 73.5 RSI. It hasn't been this bowled up since July. Things look good in the markets overall if you have that strengthening. So overall, I don't want to chase this here. To me, fully targeted, target is $65, $66. So the Fed really juiced it up here. I do not want to chase it. I do think this pulls back to around $63 to $64 in the next couple of 2 weeks or so. And that will be your invitation. But I am not buying this super extended from below the 200-day moving average from 58 to today, 67. No, sir. Trees don't go to the sky. We told you to get long right around here to buy assets. Check the video from November 24th. I think I said it was a Monday before Thanksgiving. I think I said buy something, anything. Ideally, if it has earnings, because that's how we differentiate it from crypto. And honestly, everything has really staircased upwards for the past 2.5 weeks. See it continuing for a couple more days. And then you should probably take a little bit of profits. And then we will near, didn't say this in the beginning, but we will, I believe Santa does come, and we will get to 7,000 or very near to it at New Year's week, essentially Christmas, New Year's Eve, right around that time frame. So markets look very, very good. What else did they gobble today? We talked about regional banks, cheaper cost, obviously. For industrials, they had a big day. You saw the Dow up hundreds and hundreds of points. Here's XLI, not quite new all-time highs. That was still the day before Halloween. What a rejection that day at 157. Here we are at 156. It did the hard work for 6 weeks today, a big move up 1.8%. That is a multiple standard deviation move, which is why we're looking at it. The Dow itself was up 1.1%. Again, what I'm going to say here is if you don't have a long position, I do think you get small blow off top in many markets. I already have established longs, so I'm not chasing them here, but all of these still like they have a momentum to go. This is when you're driving 75 and you think you're going to slow it down to exactly 40 or 20 miles an hour within 2 seconds. You really can't trust your forecasting and your ability in that second. So with candles like this, where they're upset, essentially the bell rang because they wanted to buy more. Typically, they're excited the next day and they still have to buy it. For me, 157 is where this is headed, and then this will almost look like a double top. Could it get to 157.5, 158? Maybe, but that would be about where I would call it. Again, this rally started at 148, and we take this in clusters. Trees don't grow to the. It's going to change the name of the whole podcast to that. And then next, I'm long EEM, and this thing's been a big, big sucker. Has not just done great; it has not done marvelously. Short term, I did get in, relatively. I'll actually check my notes here. It's been an underperformer for me here. I did it that same day, November 24th, when I said go buy stuff. EEM was part of the stuff that I bought. So it's options, though, and you pay in optionality. So that gets awfully expensive. So the rally's 53 to 55, not a monster move. I think this has a little bit more to do. Today was a great, great sign. To me, this is headed to $56 in the next couple of days, very, very soon. As you can tell, that's 85 cents away, about 1.5%. So a lot of still good things happening, even internationally. So those were the big up moves. They really gobbled up regional banks, industrials, and emerging markets. If you were in that today, congratulations, you absolutely crushed Fed Day. The only multiple standard deviation loser, and it's the little kid I like to kick around all the time. It's VXX. New all-time lows. VIX has also gotten very, very, very low, but it's not quite new all-time lows. This VXX, it's a non-time series. It also is different in terms of how to chart, but it's very telling when you put in new lows. Typically, it's basically saying when this goes to stair step lower and lower, basically says your puts are becoming more and more worth less. I told you also, you might get a 29 handle on this guy, and when you do, it is just about done. And again, that was also November 24th. That's when I got bowled up that Monday. VWAP that day was 35. I said we're going to have a bit of a plunge to 30. 29 will let me know it's done. Today, the low was 29.89, that aforementioned handle. As I said, I have SPY going a little bit higher, about 1.5%. This is going to about, I got about a 20... right around 29 even exit on this, essentially. And then I think it'll bottom there. It is not quite oversold. So you have a little bit of a divergence there in terms of RSI. So they're not absolutely hammering it lower like they were in early September, where really good times were had in September, in the market crawling higher. And again, the scares that we had absolutely pegged inversely. So when the bulls held the 652 level on SPY, that was exactly the opposite of 41 being a ceiling on VXX. It's exactly the same levels. And that's all you have. And if this go new all-time lows, typically you get new all-time highs in the other thing that I'm just talking about, inverse, and that's the S&P 500. New all-time lows today in VXX, down 4% today. We told you it was going to happen. I think it continues for a little bit longer. As I said, so it's probably going to go down to about 29, I say, in the next couple of days. It'll bottom there, and then you'll have a rally to about 33. Folks will get freaked out over the next 2 weeks, overspending AI, Oracle going bankrupt. I don't know. They're announcing earnings, I think, right now. Who cares? But that's what will happen, and then it will continue to go higher. All right, top 3 gainers of the past 5 days. How have you been crushing it if you have been in these markets? The number one performer over the past 5 days, and it's good to see. I'm talking to you crypto people. It's not been all over the place, though, and I'm looking at Ethereum. Ethereum's been leading all ETFs, and I like what I'm seeing out of Ethereum. Bitcoin is still lagging. Bitcoin still looks a little bit heavy. Ethereum's been crushing it in the past week. So this is today, the past 5 days. So do the math. These past 3 and then the last 2 of last week. A great run from Ethereum. Again, if we go back to that November 4th, that anchor date here of 21, you've had a monster rally into this resistance zone here of 26. Now it closed at 25 quarter. This to me, so it was up 90 bips today, not a massive move. They have not gobbled up crypto when Powell was speaking, in easing liquidity conditions. Also, they're buying $40 billion worth of T-bills every month for the next several months. So, more dovish and more bullish to the market as received. Ethereum, like I said, a monster run. This thing has really fell down November 17th. Your spidey senses should have started tingling here once it fell under 2310. And honestly, it's just now starting to carve a true, a resurrection, honestly, as it were. It's very important that it holds this 2330. It's now getting into the zone. What I foresee happening is a little bit higher. Today, they did reject it at 2610. It did get as high as 2610, and then that got dikembe'd and went lower. I think this has a little bit more juice to go with the overall global bullish markets to about potentially as high as 27 even. So that would be another $1.50. Pretty strong move for Ethereum, and then I think it would be that it for there. But here's the good news, and then I see the next down move for about 2 weeks or so to about 24, meaning it will stabilize. That 200 moving average should maintain its incline, and Ethereum can honestly resolve higher and resume its winning ways. Also above 50 RSI for more than 2 days straight, something it hasn't done since early October when it was within 100, within honestly 2% of its all-time high. So I like what I'm seeing out of Ethereum. Also the best performer out of the past week, up 8% or an average of slightly less than 2% a day. And there you see it. Very important support level right there. I like your entry at 2330 if you want to get exposure to crypto. It has not looked stellar all along. What has been looking stellar all along was the number 2 gainer all week. Silver, new all-time highs today, up 5% in the past week, or an average of 1% a day. Today, trumping that, up 1 2/3%. Look at this candle here, overbought. They've been just absolutely silvered out since early September. Once you got this break above $36, it propelled us to $56, but really a beautiful stair step all year. Just 3 closes underneath the 200 moving average back when coinciding with the United States 52-week lows back in early April when SLV was $27. Now at 2x and then some in just 8 months. Silver here, obviously I don't like to chase parabolic things like this. We were in it earlier, honestly, very simply, just for this reason alone. On this breakout above 49, looked easy, pretty much a sucker's way to trade, just getting simple. This would be more than a 3-month breakout, and then right there, basically got in at 49, got at about 53 or so. I don't want to chase this right here. I think the gold and the metals trade will really dominate 2025, and I think we'll have legs in 26. These will set up in about 2 weeks. I don't want to chase it right now with VIX putting in all-time lows and SPY on its heels of doing what it's doing with EUFN and VEA and markets, doing what they're doing. I don't want to absolutely get, overextended here. To me right here, full target 53, 54 maybe for silver. So again, once this moves, it moves. I'd much rather have an entry at $50 in say 2 weeks, let some of the dust settle, and you can look at several ways to get long it there. But that's what I would do. Maybe even it fills this gap and falls back to the prior level. I don't think so. That would be a very gross fall from 56, but I do think it falls to about 50. That would be a 11% decline. They could do in 3 days. Silver moves, it moves. But right now it's moving to the upside. The number 2 performer of the week, up almost 1% a day, like I said, doing more today. So they're buying Ethereum the past week, risk on. They're buying silver, risk on. Or you just don't have a belief in how we're going to handle our debt situation. You have to buy things that are denominated outside of, outside of typical dollars. And then that will get us to the next one, South Korea. That's what they were also buying. Up 4%. I am long this. I got long this last week. A very solid looking chart. EWY has been one of the killer stories of 2025 as well. This looks great. I don't want to chase it right here, hence why I bought it last week. But again, if you have to chase something, this is not a horrible instrument. It looks like it wants to get towards 100, but I do believe in the resistance at $98, right around here. Like I said, I'm long. I'm targeting a slightly higher upside, equivalent of $98 in the next several days, as I said. And then this will very likely correct to about $92.5 to $93. And that will be your entry to get into, I think, after Israel. This may be actually the top year-over-year leader, even beating EIS. So I have to check, but this is an absolute monster. Is South Korea, very heavy in the tech trade, 40% Samsung and Hynix, which you can't get exposure through SPY. So every squirrel gets a nut, and this is another great way to play tech as well. Top 3 losers of the past 5 days. Number 1 loser, natural gas. It's still cold here on the East Coast. Look at this. Technically speaking, look at this. Suckers bought, I'm just saying what the chart says here. Suckers bought and kept it December 5th, nat gas. If you bought it that day, it was up 4.5% and you paid 17, no bueno. That was absolutely a chase, and a fast move came from that false move. And it slipped from 17 all the way to 1430 and is now under 50 RSI. So nat gas is absolutely nat gassing. It's a, sick instrument to trade. I do not like it here with the global bull market happening. This has 2 weeks in the penalty box or so, about 10-ish days. And I think this is headed lower to that very important point right here, just holding a 13 handle, right? Essentially these highs that we had from mid-October, right there, about a 13.10, 13 quarter. I think that breaks that low that it had on November 25th. I think it goes lower. And this is still heavy natural gas. We thought maybe it can carve out and be a point of stabilization, but I really want to see how it reacted, and it really slipped. So let's see how it does for the next 2 weeks, but this is not encouraging. I think this is headed towards 13 quarter or $1.05 lower from here. So a big move to me coming lower in natural gas over the next 2 weeks. It's begun over the past 5 days, down 8% over the past 5 days. Today was up 1.1, decent to see, but I think we're headed lower in that gas over the next 2 weeks. Number 2 loser, volatility. So that's what they're selling here. They're selling natural gas. They're selling volatility. I'm not going to get to the forecast on this because we just talked about it, but volatility down 5% over the past 5 days, and today down 4%. Okay, and then number 3 worst ETF performer over the past 5 days, EWZ, much of it because of that election or because of that political news about Bolsonaro's son, I believe. But this still looks to be in the penalty box. This is coming off a 52-week high 6 days ago at nearly $35 and a fast move. Two things. So if this hangs in strictly around $33, give or take, then props, hats off to you. A beautiful hold. You can see what I'm talking about here with that 51 RSI. It's almost buckling here. It didn't absolutely break like nat gas. That's due to also the heaviness and the support or resistance you have from a heavy 200-day moving average. This is support for Brazil. For nat gas, it was resistance. So as you can see here, obviously massive volume there too. December 5th, 135 million shares. True, just amazing highs, 52-week highs, December 4th, and the next day, biggest volume day in a year, and the stock or the ETF is down 6%. The country of Brazil. What I think is more likely, I don't think it holds around 33, even with the bullish global market. I think this heads low over the next 2 weeks or so, and honestly, I think it goes to around around that like 31's half level. So I don't love it here. I think this has a little bit more work to do, and that 50 RSI will go lower, and it should probably sell somewhere around mid 40s. And then I think if you do have that entry around $32, $32, I think it will be a good investment as it tries to get back to 35, probably closer to January. All right, so if you have been long Ethereum, short nat gas, and long silver, congratulations. Just shut your laptop. You are absolutely crushing the United States stock market. All right, on the cusp of all-time highs. I'll give it to you if you're in small caps. Congrats, all-time highs. I think SPY is coming very, very, very soon, before the end of the week. And we will be talking to you then. Hopefully, we'll have that report for you on Friday. Peace.